All right, welcome everyone. Joining me today, Sydel, Sierra. We're going to talk about Hex. I haven't done a video on Hex forever. I can't wait to hear the update. We're also going to talk about tokenization, of course, you know that, and maybe, the future of Hex. I'd like to hear what she thinks about that, especially with the founder under indictment, if the SEC will ever bring them in or what the situation is there.
Who is Richard Hart? Genius.
Legendary.
The arrogant, bit of a narcissist.
The benevolent king.
$250,000. Hate me. I'm farther than you'll ever be in your whole life. Whatever the governments have been doing, it's not worked out. You've never had worse interest rates. Your money has never been worth less. And the only thing that's making it better is cryptocurrency.
I think the founder of Hex, was a genius, but I don't know if he was on the up and up. Is there any community support around him? I think there's a lot of community support around him. But Richard was kind of the guy that was very ostentatious and liked to wear and buy things and show them off, which is probably why he encountered the wrath of at least the U.S. government here. Well, give us an update on that. What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole subject of Hex and Pulsechain has had so much controversy and so much positive and negative press lately. In the end, it is one of those. It is one of those assets that is working, and a lot of people say it's not a Richard Hart product. It's an ecosystem that is sustained in itself. It runs on its own, and it has flawless operation, things like that. So there's a whole lot of mixed bag of feelings going on. The Hex community, as you've probably seen, is one of those very passionate communities, and it's a very strong polarizing feeling amongst the community. So at the moment, it's very much a wait and see game. Richard Hart has certainly, what he would say, humbled himself and sort of moved back in the background at the moment while the SEC case is sort of unfolding. And as he said, a lot of that sort of outrageous marketing was there to sort of draw attention and to support the Hexicans. But it's an interesting argument, isn't it? It's an interesting way to do things.
Yes, it is. But he was a genius at it in terms of what he did and how he explained things. But for me, the math didn't quite add up. And I did a long video on this. It was pretty popular, where we had somebody come in and analyze it. And I tried to get Richard on, but at the time he was involved in launching another project. Anyway, we left it neutral. I said, let's wait and see. So if the SEC has the goods, which half the time they do, the other half they don't. Clearly, they're way over the line on a lot of these things, especially around Ripple and Coinbase. But at this point, it remains to be seen if they have the goods on Hex. I don't think it really helped that Hart was out there, flaunting his wealth, whether he had it or not, or whether he deserved it or not. Especially when you're in this type of regulatory environment, they're just looking for an excuse. And the more popular that person is, the more they want to take them down. So, I know he's in Europe. I don't know how they eventually served him. Actually, I think I read about how they eventually found him and did an alternative service. But I thought, he would sufficiently hide out wherever he was. I think he was in Finland. And avoid being served, and this thing would just drag out for years. But eventually, I guess they did find them. So, what do you think is going to happen? Are they trying? Is the Hex community trying to detach themselves from Richard? Are they embracing Richard? What's going on with the community, and what do you think is going to happen with Hex?
Great questions. Well, I mean, there's the two hexes, isn't there? There's the Hex on Pulsechain, there's the Hex on Ethereum, and obviously the Hex on Ethereum has recently done a bit of a tank dive. Off the back of one of Richard Hart's tweets. But again, Richard wasn't really saying anything that wasn't new news. It was more so he was pointing out the Ethereum fees that Hexicans are paying, and why wouldn't we want to come over to a faster, cheaper network where you can do faster transactions and things like that. So that created a little bit of upheaval in Hex, and many people were sort of questioning the future of the Ethereum Hex. So there's a little bit of confusion around then. But the other side to that is the whole Hex community is still very supportive of Richard Hart, and they're also trying to educate the masses to say that it's not a Richard Hart project. It's it's a project that's been built by the community. It's open source. It's there for everyone to contribute and to build upon. And no other chain has had so many apps launch in such a short period of time. The amount of 24-hour transaction volume is higher than Ethereum in some cases. The 24-hour volume of transactions going on. There's a million or so active wallets. So there's so much happening on the chain, and very much people think, okay, whatever Richard Hart does is reflective of what happens in the Pulsechain ecosystem, but it's very much separate to that, in my opinion. And I think the Hexicans are trying to say it is separate, and we still are here with Richard Hart. And I think what he's doing is there's a big game of marketing going on. In my personal opinion, I think it's one big extended play to really shake out those hands over a long period of time and to reward those that hold for a long time. That's my personal opinion.
All right, well, let's move from that to, remains to be seen whether the SEC and FINRA have a case or not. We'll see. Like I said, I give it 50-50. Maybe they know some things that we don't, that they're not talking about. But I read the complaint. I don't know. It didn't seem like they had much there, given their lack of regulatory. Just telling us what works and what doesn't, which has been their main problem. This episode sponsored by my company, Smart Blocks, where you can go and tokenize your real estate if you're a developer, or if you're watching from anywhere in the world, you can buy fractions in real estate for as little as $25 a token. Check it out, smartblocks.xyz. So let's go to tokenization now. Obviously, I'm in that space. I now have my friend Larry Fink from BlackRock that's just created a fund. He started off with $100 million and now it's at $300 million, like in a week. And all they're doing is buying tokenized assets. Seems like tokenization is becoming a big thing, and there's an institution that's leading the way instead of all of us at the ground level trying to work our way up. What are your thoughts on it from an outside perspective, and whether that people should be looking at this or investing in this now?
Great question. And it's interesting because tokenization is the complete unraveling of the way that people invest in this world, isn't it? And it's really is the future. It is the future of how we transact, how we invest, in my opinion. I mean, just a few years ago, we were speaking about this through people we educate, and saying that, security token offerings, just the tokenization of assets, the democratization of everything. I mean, anything that you can place value onto, artwork and music, and even for production of content, real estate, all of these things. It's quite mind-blowing just how limitless, how unlimited that space can be, and how many people can actually invest into that moving forward. And so for me, I think it's a trend that is slowly coming to be more of the future. It will take time, but it's already becoming more solidified. We're seeing a lot more of that happen. And I think people's awareness first is in the cryptocurrency space. And then as people enter through crypto, they start to see the broader offerings. Many people think cryptocurrencies, well, firstly, obviously, tokenization and cryptocurrencies they're separate.
Yes.
One's typically like an investment
Thank you for saying that.
into certain coins, and and they really do require two different lines of thinking. Yes. However, sometimes I believe people first need to find out what crypto is, what this whole digital asset world is, and then we onboard and we educate into the broader offerings that this entire sphere can offer, and that is really where I believe we're at the moment, is that education phase, the adoption phase.
Yeah, and we have a crypto problem similar to crypto. I describe tokenization as we use the same tools as crypto. We've got the DeFi, we've got blockchain, we've got tokens and all that, but it really does represent a real legal interest in an asset. And so the valuation and the way things are construed are far different. Plus, we follow the law, as we like to say. Whatever that law is, I'm still trying to figure out what the law is, but we try to follow it. Anyway,
I understand.
In terms of tokenization in this day and age, I think we have the same problem that crypto had, which is we make it too hard to get involved. Platforms like mine, we make it pretty simple. You could use fiat or crypto, but for the most part, then it's then what? When I trade out of it, then it becomes really hard. Not hard, but harder. we as a community, and we're doing this, are going to make it super easy, like buying a stock and selling a stock. And right now, all you could do easily is buy the stock. Like with us, it's in 4 clicks on our platform. But from there, it takes a lot of work. So, and the nomenclature we use, I think is easier to understand than crypto. But we're trying to create these moats around us that only insiders know, instead of just telling everybody, hey, all tokenization is the digitization of shares that represent something.
Yeah.
And it just, once it's on the blockchain, then you can trade it instantly anywhere in the world, which is a beautiful thing. We don't have any governments, we don't have any roadblocks, we don't have the SWIFT network blocking us. We are allowed to trade with people as long as it's a legal trade. So from that perspective,
It's amazing.
I'm happy to hear that you have positive view of the future of this. For me, I'm kind of all in on it. Like the Bitcoin maxis, I'm like the tokenization maxi at this point. I think it's going to happen, but we're like Bitcoin 2016 right now. So we got a long way to go.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's very much what I see is happening right now is the conversations are happening, the questions are being asked, there's the ability. So it's people going, well, we've heard of this. How can that apply to our industry? How can this really be a reality for our industry? And would it apply? So the thought processes are happening in the same way they were happening for crypto many years ago too. And that infrastructure just has to catch up in the same way the horse and cart and then the automobile came along and there was no roads, there was no fuel stations, there's just this is that innovative phase. So I do believe we're on that trajectory. The conversations are happening for sure.
Wonderful. All right, so to wrap things up, Sydel, what do you see, 2 years from now? What do you think the state of the market's going to be, if you will, either for Hex or tokenization or just crypto in general?
Yeah, great question. Already we've had this incredible year for cryptocurrencies, more so from a
Sure.
standpoint of just seeing the volume of inflows coming in. I think we're sitting at 12.2 billion of inflow, and they were sort of estimating about 14 from that Galaxy Digital. I think it was one of the most reference points for the ETFs. They said in 1 year to do about 14 billion, and we're already up to about 12 billion in just under 3 months.
We're going to blow past that.
We're going to blow past that, and I wonder and is it slowing down? Absolutely not. Where is all this Bitcoin coming from? So I do believe we are moving into this unprecedented bull market. I don't really think we have entered officially into that bull market phase. I still think all of this price movement we've seen at the moment is mainly from the institutional investment, and the retail market hasn't really entered yet. The altcoin market hasn't taken off. We're sort of seeing that capital flow from Bitcoin to Ethereum. So everything's shaking up and getting ready for an amazing bull market. I believe we'll see that move into 2025. And again, when we're in a bull market, we see the most innovation. We see the most discussions. We see more people coming into this space asking questions. And all it takes is someone from the outside to go, wow, this space is amazing. I'm interested in that. And then that's where we get the innovation. That's where we get the progression. So I do believe every cycle just presents more progression, presents more innovation, more questions, more discussions. And that's where I believe we're just going to see more adoption and this asset class become known and taken a lot more seriously as it's done in every previous cycle.
Yeah, very well said. One last question. When do you think Bitcoin crosses 100,000? And we're going to hold you to it.
I think we'll see that. I think we'll see that towards the end of this year, start of 2025. I do believe that we'll be hitting that sooner than we think. And it's already one of those unprecedented years. We passed the all-time high before the halving, which is unknown. And so, yeah, it's a little bit of expect the unexpected, this bull market, in my opinion.
I agree. Expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed it would have been, hit 73,000 as fast as it did? It skyrocketed.
Exactly. Absolutely. I know. And I'm calling it a popcorn year for crypto this year and next.
Wow.
So 2 popcorn years coming up. So, and in good and bad ways. It's crypto. Expect the unexpected, right?
Well, we all know it's going to take a massive downturn. But then it always has higher highs, which is a real interesting thing to think about as you go forward here. All right, so Sydel, very nice having you on the show. Thank you so much for your update on Hex and your view on tokenization. And we'll have you back in 90 days or so, and we'll talk about Bitcoin hitting 100,000.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Mark.
All
Thanks
right,
for having me.
thank you.